Yo,
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm chilling. All right, all right, let's just get right into it. You could do a quick introduction for the chat, and then just say like how long you've been playing, what's your tag, where you're from,
Sure.
something like that.
Yeah, my tag's Zapwad. From Washington State, and I've been playing since 2014. I think I caught Evo that year, and that was kind of how I got into it.
Nice.
And you did a lesson with Jello. I'm good friends with him, so
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. All right,
I guess
so
we're gonna cover Fox Peach and Fox Ditto
yeah, sounds good.
mainly.
Okay, well you have a Fox Falco is the first VOD. Do you want me to start with that, or do you want me to start with something
Let's
else?
leave that for last, and just only if we feel like we have a bunch of time left.
Okay.
I'm not as
So,
worried
which
about it.
one do you want to start with? The Fox Ditto or the Fox Peach?
Let's start with Fox Ditto. Let's
Okay.
probably spend the most time on that.
All right. Let me. Okay, get the screen up.
Yeah, between like when I scheduled with you and when, well, now I suppose I played like 3 sets against Fox and I won them all. I was like, shit, that doesn't happen. I was
Well,
trying to
that
find,
doesn't mean there's not stuff to work on,
yeah,
but that's still pretty funny.
like kind of just better player. Still, like, I definitely was. I have no game plan. I was definitely just the better Fox, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay, so yeah, what are your thoughts on this matchup so far? Like, what usually, how does it usually feel to play it?
so like the main thing, and even just generally in any matchup, my biggest problem I feel is that I try to play reactively a lot, and I never play proactively.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the Fox Ditto, that just leads to me getting run over, and I'm like
Mm-hmm.
almost never approaching. Like, oh, I'll
Okay.
just sit back here and dash dance grab or wait to up tilt them, and like it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's the main thing. And I have a bunch of little small stuff like tech skill and punish game that I'm trying to work on just because I switched to the box 5 months ago,
Oh, I see.
so I'm
Okay.
still sort of shaky on some of that stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting there. Let's see what I have my notes at. Yeah, so there's just that, and yeah, so like, what is the goal in neutral, and
Okay.
how do I play more proactively?
All right. I think that's a good starting point. You're green or blue?
Green.
Okay. And the screen share is working?
Yep, I can see it.
Okay.
And one big thing that mostly Jello and I, because I just play him a bunch, and he's better at pointing stuff out about what I'm doing, is I just don't grab enough. Like I
Hmm.
grab very little.
Okay. Yeah, this is a crazy combo by the other fox. this this
Yeah, he's
thing.
this guy's nuts.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Another box player too.
That was ridiculous. Okay, so far not a lot has happened. This is a small detail, but uh, it's usually a bad idea to wave dash like that. You almost
After shining,
exclusively, you almost, no, just,
or
when just like you just sort of did it, like in movement, like right here, this wave dash.
oh, okay,
It's just unless you do
just
the
slow.
like even if you do the absolute perfect wave dash, it doesn't go further really than like dashing. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're dashing here, it just gives you a lot more options. Like the wave dash, like you're basically execution testing yourself for no reason
Right.
by trying to do
Okay.
like a perfect wave dash here when you could just like hold left. So that's just like
Okay.
a small note. Is like usually, especially in the Ditto, don't wave dash in neutral.
Hmm.
In the Ditto or versus Falcon, you don't want to wave dash. But usually, you just don't want
Okay.
to wave dash as Fox anyway. unless there's like a specific reason. Like if you're gonna like wave dash up tilt, then yeah, but otherwise you just want to dash dance. Yeah, this is a very chaotic Fox Ditto so far.
I do
Neither.
that a lot too. I corner myself a lot, almost out of like I know it's bad to be there, but it's like comfort to where like okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm in the corner. I need to get out. Like it gives me a plan.
That's interesting. That's a funny way to look at it. Yeah, see, you did this again too. This is just something minor, but like this wave dash back is just it's not very useful. It's better to not use it.
So just like a full dash in, small dash back, basically is
Yeah.
better off.
Doing a dash there is just you're actionable the entire time during your dash, and that's a big
Right.
deal. Rather than 15 frames of inaction, or however many it is exactly. Hmm. You play this guy a lot?
No, not this player.
Okay. It almost looks like you do.
Hmm.
Yeah, that wave dash back habit is I would recommend getting rid of that. It seems like you've done that every approach. Like dash in, wave dash back.
Yeah, like every like knockdown where I know I can't just get there straight up. That's usually my what I do
Well, no,
to
you've been
wait for them to do something.
yeah. In those situations, you want to do run up crouch.
Okay.
Huh. Okay, that video was a little bit
I have
unclear.
more, but like I said, I have a bunch of like slippies of me winning.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, those are fine. It's
I do
fine.
have like a 3-1 game.
It's fine if you're winning. Could I just see another Fox Ditto?
Yeah, I'll just. I
That
mean,
was
this is
very like that was very much like I could go over it and find some stuff, but so the biggest thing that I got out of that is neither of you guys are really like paying attention super hard, it looks like it looks
okay.
like you're both like because you said that you feel like you play too reactively, but maybe you mean you play like too defensively or something because
Not really that I'm like trying to react what they're doing. Just that
yeah,
like
because like in this
I guess yeah,
video.
just not proactive. Like I'm not approaching. Yeah, I'm just waiting
Mm-hmm.
for them to come at me.
Yes, because like in this video, it seemed like
But yeah, not raw
you
reaction.
were just kind of
Just
doing your
running away,
thing.
basically.
Like you were just kind of doing your thing, and then he was just kind of doing his thing.
I don't
And
know which one of these games I lost, but that's a full set of 3-1.
okay, and that's like pretty. It's pretty common,
I know I
but
lost the
I
first
need
game, but I don't
another
know what
video
order they're
to
in.
see what's up.
Probably the first one I sent you should be the first game that I lost.
Okay, because I kind of get what's going on, but I'm not really sure exactly what to tell you yet. So that's why I think watching another one will help. Okay, that was good. It's okay, that was good too. Yeah, stop that wave dash habit. That's actually really bad if you're using it that much. Like this right here, where you wave dash back.
Mm-hmm.
Super bad. Don't do that.
When I could just be dash dancing.
Yeah, you could just I know it feels good to kind of like break up the pace of like a dash dance, but
All
if
right.
you want to break up the pace, just mix up your rhythm instead.
Okay.
Yeah, so what kind of model in neutral? I know you said you don't really feel like you have like a super coherent model of neutral, but like sort of like what are you thinking while you're playing these?
Um,
Like when you're gonna be like, let's say you're just, you're dash dancing under this platform and he's dash dancing under this platform. Like what are you thinking?
um, typically that I want to like I'm fishing for drill, and then you
Mm-hmm.
drill grab or drill shine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I like have like a fear of just running in and doing drill, and I know I need to like mix up like an overshoot and adding
Mm-hmm.
running shine to it, but I'm usually waiting for them to like come in and drill in place to catch a grab or something like that, or up tilting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, let me go through it a little bit more, and then I'm kind of thinking of some stuff we can talk about.
Jello determined that my play style is just waiting until we're close and then shining as much as I can and getting what I can off of it.
It doesn't look like that to me.
That might be a little more against Falco
It
too.
looks like it feels like you're yeah, like okay, so like it feels like you have a lot of options that you haven't like that have succeeded in the past, and you're sort of just intuitively going through them
Hmm.
and being like, okay, I think this is a decent move here. I think this is a decent move here. So there's not like a ton of intention behind it, like of like
Right,
like I don't feel like a lot of conscious effort to manipulate your opponent, but the actual mix-ups you're doing aren't bad really.
right.
So like it's kind of weird to it's kind of an interesting thing to look at. It's a little bit unusual. Not
And I would almost like explain why I'm just beating foxes that I'm better than and losing to foxes that are better than me. Because if I'm just playing somebody that I'm better than, I'm just doing better mix-ups and winning them.
yeah, like you have a it's like if I was playing you for instance, I would probably get annoyed at I would say that it seems like you're overconfident. And but it's
Okay.
not really like an overconfidence thing. It's just that like you're playing extremely decisive but
Hmm.
without like clear
Without reason.
yeah, like it's just like very much like someone's like, I'll go here, and you're like, ah, of course, I go here, and it's like, wait, why? And you're just like, well, now I go here, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
wow, like where does this sort of, so it's sort of jarring to have confidence in something that doesn't necessarily have like a plan behind it, but I think it's just
Hmm.
that you're playing to your intuitive options that you have, and you're just
Right.
and those are good options. So it's like I don't think that like the way you intuitively experience the game is wrong, but I want to give you I what I want, I think, and I'll get more into the details of this, but I think the fundamental thing that I want you to be able to adjust is to to be able to understand your opponent better, because
Hmm.
it doesn't look like you're really paying attention to them. You're more just seeing the character at a position and then using a mix up that you know is good in that position.
Right.
And so we can get into it a little bit more after we go through this video, but yeah, I think that's sort of what I'm feeling from it is that like cuz when you're watching like a high level match, a lot of times you'll see people like they're trying to directly manipulate and understand their opponent. And
Hmm.
that's something I'm not getting much from this. So like for instance like this Nair, there's nothing. The thing is it's the reason why it's weird is because there's nothing that I can point to and say this is a bad option. Like so far,
Right.
you haven't really been doing any bad options. Like it's the only thing that I've noticed is that you're not really going for like big punishes, which I think could be a problem a little bit. And
Yeah,
that
like, my
probably
punish game is super weak.
ties into like not grabbing enough too, because that's like a really
Hmm.
big opener. So I think those things might contribute. So like the idea is sort of like if you are playing. So like, think of like a wobbler, and so obviously wobbling is like pretty degenerate and stuff, but the reason why it's so effective is because they have their opening and they know what that opening will accomplish. That opening will end in a death for you.
Right.
And so the game doesn't really. The game stops being this game of kind of like constantly trying to like see where my opponent is and kind of figure out these mix-ups on their movement and kind of trying to like choose the right move for the situation. And the match more so becomes like being careful and like watching their movement and looking for possible opportunities to kind of like snipe them, or like I gotcha, and then you get like the one opening you want.
Yeah.
And I think that like that is sort of the piece of the game that's missing from your gameplay. Is that like, so part of it is probably that you aren't you aren't comboing hard enough, because so this is like an issue I've been over with a bunch of people where like if the best opening you can get gets you 35 damage, then like up air back air is not that different from, a grab.
Mm-hmm.
Bec- or like, up tilt nair is not that different from down tilting and then sharking with a back air, because they do kind of like the same amount of damage. But if you have certain openings that lead to really big combos or kills or edge guards or whatever, then you're a lot more likely to start planning ways to try to get those perfect openings.
Right.
So like right now, a lot of your openings are kind of like equal in value, and so it sort of encourages you to just be like, well, if I do these mix-ups that I know will hit sometimes, then like I have pretty consistent, probability wise, I have a pretty consistent return value on my mix-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can sort of prevent you from going more towards the direction of like you want to like, basically the idea is you want to defend yourself really cleanly from the other person while trying to set up a trap that will give you your best opening. That is the
Right.
game plan that I want you to move more towards. And
Okay.
so yeah, so like yeah, so like if you're in a situation like this and you're kind of landing these combos, then like this isn't gonna encourage you that like I should spend 25 seconds of empty neutral game looking for a grab, because when you actually grab the guy, you do 20 damage. And
Right.
so I think that can contribute a lot. Like it just ends up very like scrappy. Like you like let's look at the next stock and we'll see some stuff come up. Okay, that's an up air, by the way. That's an up air for sure. That might not kill, but even if it doesn't kill, the up air will put him up in the air, and it's very difficult for him to get
Mm-hmm.
down. Small detail. Okay. Okay, so let's see like what opening you go for. The thing is yeah, there's just you're not really going for anything bad. That's why it's kind of funny. Okay, another thing that I've noticed is you seem very unconfident in ledge dashing.
Yeah,
I
that's improved just even like the last couple days. So I'm
Okay, that's
grinding
good,
that
because
down.
almost every time I've seen you go to the platform, and it's not bad necessarily, but like if you ledge dash here, this would be a free opening.
All right.
And also, you were saying that like sometimes you like will corner yourself. The interesting thing about Fox Dittos is that cornering yourself is not actually that bad. And
Right.
the reason why it's not bad is because wave dash off ledge dash exists.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have confident ledge dashes, your life in the corner gets significantly worse.
Hmm.
Okay, see like wave dash and jab there. Didn't really make too much sense. Okay. Okay, he hits you with the lame combos. Another jab. Whiff punish. Missing your JC grabs a couple times. Okay. Let's watch one more. Yeah, so I have sort of a direction now, but I haven't been able to get into really enough specifics yet. So that's sort of what I'm looking for. Yeah, bad. Don't do that wave dash back. Okay, yeah, just a back air. What in the world? Okay, whiff punish. Yeah, I mean,
And that
because
was
like,
like the example of the dash chance versus wave dashing. It just went around that there.
yeah, like you're always actionable. It just provides a massive advantage. Okay. So it's interesting that Jello feels like you play really defensive or reactive, and you kind of mentioned that too, because I don't see it at all. In fact, it actually looks like you become uncomfortable pretty quickly in neutral, and you want to throw something out. Like I haven't seen you like wait a single time yet. So
Yeah,
this
and
is
that
a
that was more what I thought. He just
okay.
didn't think that would
Yeah,
shine.
this is another thing you really want to get rid of is these jabs, like that jab. I've
Mhm.
seen those like 4 or 5 times now, and it's really maybe 3 or 4 times. But it's something you don't really want to do at these percents because if you're gonna jab here, you might as well have just either shined or dash dance grabbed or something like that.
Right.
The jab is just very low return value and so like low and expected value. It's not going to get you any combos. If it misses, you can still get punished for it. So it doesn't have like it doesn't have like a lot of potential. And so I need to. This would be easier to analyze if your opponents didn't just keep letting you hit them with everything. Because you keep going for decisions, which I would say are not fantastic, but because your opponents get hit by them every time, then it's very difficult for me to like really hone in on it.
Right.
Like they just keep getting hit by every single hitbox you put out, so like why would you not play like this? Like like
Yeah.
why would you not just jump at the guy and throw out
Yeah,
moves
it's
if every
very.
single time you do it they get hit? And it's kind of annoying for me
It
to
was
watch
working.
yeah, no, like of course it's definitely. So like okay, so like would you call this like a reactive playstyle? Watch what you do. So you're like drill in, single dash or sorry, roll, dash back, dash in, drill, full drift in, shine, 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 full hop back air, and then you get this grab. And it's like, whoa, like you were just throwing stuff out everywhere there. It's like that doesn't seem reactive. It seems like you're just kind of throwing stuff out over and over.
Right.
So I honestly think that point from before is the biggest point so far. Where now there's that jab again. Bad habit. There's a couple bad habits you have from just sort of being in your intuitive model. It feels like,
Yeah, like that
and
jab there,
your
and that jab.
huh?
Those two jabs in a row.
Yeah, and your I think your punish game being weak is hurting you a lot more than you might think.
Hmm.
In terms of not like performance necessarily, but in terms of like the way it crafts your playstyle kind of, or the way it influences your playstyle. Because it's like, okay, so like let's look at the types of move choices you make.
So I guess like you're saying like if I had a better combo game and I knew what like more of my big earners were, I'd be going for them more. But I
Yeah,
just have a
so
bunch of low
not
earners.
okay, yeah, so that is what I'm saying. And but another point to add to that is also that like, so it's kind of like if you so if you had your big earners and you know that those are good, you would be going for them more. And then the second half of that is that your opponent would also need to be doing the same thing, because that's sort of what happens as you get better is you start focusing on your better openings.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like you and your opponent in both of these videos are sort of just playing this completely fake version of the game, and you're better at it.
Right.
And so it's kind of like your goal should be, first of all, in the Fox Ditto, this is not an aggressive matchup. And so I don't think you should be worried about the fact that you're not approaching enough. Because watching these videos, you're approaching more than enough. Like, I actually
Right.
think I would recommend you play more defensive to get a better handle on the Ditto. So,
Okay.
what I want to see more long I want to see space between neutral interactions, or space between like hitting interactions. I don't know really what to call it. Like I want to see longer periods of movement, because in pretty much all these videos it's very difficult so far to find any empty space. Like he's hitting you, and then like watch, like you're fighting here, and then like watch, we'll look for like the first moment when you're both on the screen and somebody isn't immediately trying to hit somebody else.
Right.
Okay, so he's trying to hit you, he's trying to hit you, you're trying to hit him, he whiff punishes you, trying to hit each other, you're rolling and you go in for the hit him, and you're just kind of like, you're both just kind of just swinging, like
Hmm.
it's like a schoolyard brawl type thing where you're both just like, get him, like, we both have
Yeah.
to swing our arms.
Something I've noticed like in friendlies with Jello, like I'm never resetting neutral. I'm always like trying to get ahead. I like every time I shield, I'm not rolling enough. I want to shine at a shield every time because I want to get a punish off of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm
and
unwilling to just like accept that I got out of his punish and reset.
and yeah, so it's like, just look at like, is there a single moment of like, silence kind of here? Like, is there a single moment where both characters are just moving? This was the closest
Yeah.
we've gotten right here. And this is sort of what I want to see more of. I want to see
Mhm.
more of this, where you're doing these mixed length dash dances, and you're sort of avoiding where he is, and you're looking for a potential opening.
Right.
Because this is sort of how Fox Dittos go when the stakes go up and the skills go up, is like, you don't just want to immediately run in and throw out an attack, because the other character is exactly as fast as your character. So
Right.
when the characters are slower, it's not nearly as bad of an idea to play like very aggro as Fox. But in the Ditto, you know, Fox is exactly as fast as you. You're never going to catch him.
Right.
So you should feel like the best way to describe it is like, if I'm playing the Fox Ditto, I want it to feel like my opponent has to make a big commitment, even not even necessarily a big commitment, but they have to make like a fairly significant commitment to hit me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if I'm sort of dash dancing and they sort of make a move forward, oh, what if I move back a little bit? And then they go, oh, okay, maybe I'll stay in place. Oh, what if I'm moving forward a little bit? And then we're kind of like, it's kind of like you see two fighters and they're kind of doing that thing where they're kind of bobbing back and forth and they're kind of like walking in the circle around each other.
Right.
That's like what you don't do enough.
Right. Like
There
they
needs
punch at any time, they could step back at any time.
Yeah, like it's kind of like the match starts and you both just start sprinting across the stage like Samus running across to like punch the other guy in the face, and it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like that's not how you consistently beat opponents of like you want consistency, and you want consistency against high skilled opponents. That is like the goal. And
Right.
so the more you can make, so it's kind of like I've explained this in a few previous lessons where you want, so both players could just be doing mix-ups on each other all the time, but that's kind of like assuming their punish game is even. If both players are just directly doing mix-ups into each other whenever a situation comes up, the results will always be nearly even.
Right. It's just a coin toss.
Because yeah, you're just rock paper scissoring each other. So you don't want to engage in a rock paper scissors war against players who are potentially as good as you. And so I tell
Right.
people this when like so you want to basically play as little rock paper scissors as possible. So this is I'm going to sort of set up like a structure for you of like if you could whiff punish your opponent every single time, if and this was like what I used to do to Cody when he wasn't quite as good,
Mm-hmm.
is he had really predictable full hop drift back down airs. So what I would do is I would dash in and he would full hop and he would drift back down air and I would just dash dance grab it. And at no point in that sequence did I have to choose a mix up and go for it.
Right.
It was really just using my dashes to try to get him to do the full hop, and then I would punish it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you could do that every time 4 stocks out of 4, there would be no reason to ever do like a real committal mix up. There'd be no reason to ever nair in at your opponent if every time you dash you could manipulate them to commit to a movement that you could punish.
Right.
So that's sort of like the ideal. And the more you can turn a match into that, the better off you are, because that gives you an advantage beyond just guessing right in the mix-ups.
Yeah.
So the way you do that, so like your goal should be like, I don't want to participate in any mix-ups ever. Your opponent must force you to partake in the mix-ups.
Okay.
So your goal is like, I'm gonna dash dance, and like I'll kind of, so the idea is you want to be able to threaten your opponent with as little risk as possible, because then you have a chance. You dash in, they throw out a random up smash, but you dash back and now you just grab them, and now you have like your 0 death.
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to basically commit to these mix-ups as little as possible, and you want to do these small little pokes by like dashing in, dash back, and like, so the two things are you dash in as a threat and you see what they do, and either they'll throw out a move or they'll go backwards or they'll go forwards with you. And if they go forwards with you, a lot of times it just kind of resets because you both just kind of go past each other. I'm sure you've seen that a lot, where like one guy tries to running shine and the other guy tries to full hop drill over him, and then you just reset and you just swap sides. So that's like not super relevant. And then if he doesn't attack in place, you're baiting it out, or a spot dodge, you're baiting it out with your dash. And if he moves back, then you've gained a little space, and it resets the situation, but you've gained a little space, and he's a little bit more cramped in the corner. And the thing is, remember, the corner's not that bad because they can just go to ledge and ledge dash, but that is pretty difficult for them execution wise, and if you just keep forcing it over and over again, eventually you're going to end up in a situation where they can't get to ledge quite quick enough or something, and you have an advantage.
Right, and I can
So,
still hold center from a
yeah,
outside of ledge dash range.
exactly, and you can just hold center there. Like they're if they just keep doing that over and over, they're basically just like I said, they're execution testing themselves, and they're not gaining anything out of it. So, and then if you dash back, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm going to create more space, and you're seeing if your opponent will take the space. So if you dash back, your opponent maybe moves in, then you can move forward and hit them. If they don't take the space, you just move back in anyway, or maybe you take some space and laser them, depending on the percent. Like if they're like really low percent, maybe a laser or two is good because it'll get you closer to like some knockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like kind of these options, but the idea is that you want to try to use just dash dancing to manipulate your opponent as like the fundamental basis of your play in this matchup. And
Right,
honestly, in a lot of matchups, but I'm being specific for this one. What'd you say?
it's just the least committal thing that has a lot of value. The
Exactly.
highest value for least committal.
Yeah, it's the least committal thing because you're actionable all the time. You can instantly move back and forth, and you can use it to threaten space, take away space, give up space. So that's sort of the first element of it, is that you want to see what you can do with dash dance. And there's this funny thing, if you watch Zane's Fox, I'm not the biggest fan of his Fox, but one thing he's good at, coming from Marth, is that he will just dash dance in the ditto. He'll just sit there and dash dance like for like a minute. Like he'll just keep dash dancing, and then whatever you do, he'll adjust his dash dance based on that and look for an opening. And like while that's kind of basic for somebody who's like, you know, top 10 in the world to do, it's like very, it is the correct order of like you first want to fundamentally get really good dash dances in the matchup. Then the second thing you want to do is full hops, and the reasoning is similar, is that if you full hop over your opponent, you it's very uncommittal in the ditto on stages that aren't FD. And the reasoning is that if you full hop above them, you're giving them the chance to whiff something. It's kind of like the dash dance where you're giving them a chance to give you something for free. Where like if you full hop over them and let's say they thought you were going to short hop in so they up tilt, you know, that's a free drill grab or something like that. Or a drill shine. And then like let's say they nair in, that's also a free drill. Or they up smash, that's a free drill. And then if they don't, like you full hop up, the only way for them to actually hit you out of your full hop is to hard read your full hop and do a full hop themselves.
Right.
And so if you full hop and there's a situation where there's some danger, then you can just double jump and wave land off the top plat, and you know you're back to you reset the neutral situation.
Right.
And so you have these options where between dash dance and full hop and to a lesser degree ledge dash, you can use these options to safely sort of look for openings. It's that kind of, you know, bobbing back and forth, walking in a circle. You're kind of looking for maybe in the guy's stance, the way he moves, you're looking for little openings that you might be able to abuse.
Right.
And so, like, let's say, for
You
instance...
win it or you'll go neutral. You'll either win it or you'll go neutral. Like, they're safe enough, you're not...
exactly. So what you do is, once you do that, you'll just beat everybody who's not also playing that game. Because they're trying to hit you, and you're just playing this game where you're like, maybe I'll be here. No, I'm not. Maybe I'll be here. No, I'm not. And eventually they're just like, this time I'm getting him. And they'll throw something out, and then they get punished. So... that is sort of like the basis of like if you're playing like somebody who's like worse than you should just be able to do that. You know, you just run up to them, you dash dance in their face for a second, and they're always gonna freak out and either spot dodge, roll, or throw out a move, and then you get easy opening. So then once the other guy does that, or before I get into that, so the idea is kind of like you can use these safe movements to sort of like, let's say you dash into an unreactable nair range. Where you dashing in and you're like, if I naired him right now, and there's no way he could literally see it and then like shield it or something like that.
Right.
And so but you don't immediately go for it because you don't know what he's going to do. But
Mhm.
you have presented the situation where you have dashed towards him in an unreactable position, and then you can see what he did to react to that. So, like, let's say he does an option where you do that dash in, and then he shields. You kind of go, oh, interesting, you know? And then maybe you back off, and you do the dash in again, and then this time he shields, and you grab him.
Right. So like
Or,
rather than the generic game, like the basic surface level melee explanation of like do something, see how they react, do it differently next time. You can just threaten doing something and not actually even have to do it and not commit to anything, see how they react to the situation, and then you either get it next time or do the other thing next time.
I would say nine
Like I
out of
don't like I don't
nine
have to
out
just
of
nair in and say, okay, did that hit him? Did he shield it? Did he dash away? Next time when I nair in, what should I do instead? Or like whatever. Like I can just go, okay, from here I could nair in.
mm-hmm.
What are we doing? Will it work?
Exactly. And this is a really important concept that the threat is stronger than the execution. Actually doing a thing is really committal and it might not work and all this stuff. And so it's like eventually you have to do something if you're going to hit somebody. But the idea
Right.
is like if you do this threat, your opponent is experiencing the exact same like visual and audio cues that they would get if you were actually doing the move to them because it's unreactable.
Right.
So they're experiencing exactly the same inputs from the world that they would be if you were going to hit them, but you're not. And then they have to do something with those stimuli. And so you can use that information against them. And 9 out of 10 times, don't be like I threatened this. So like mix-ups are what's the word I'm thinking for? Like mix-ups are earned. And it's kind of like how I said like earlier where like if your opponent is going to let you whiff punish them 4 stocks in a row, then you should do it. And it's kind of the same idea of like if you do a dash in and your opponent shields and then you dash away and then they wave dash back out of shield, for instance, and then you dash in again, it's unrealistic to think, well, they shielded last time, they're probably not going to shield this time.
Right.
You should always you should always assume that your opponent is going to just keep doing the same things over and over again and continuing to lose for them until they show you otherwise.
Right.
Because if you take the opposite mentality and you assume that they will always mix up off of something, so everybody has bad habits. And if you always assume that the player will mix up, you won't be able to punish bad habits because the bad habits are things that they do over and over again.
Right.
So you have to be ready. So like if you do something and your opponent, like if you do threat A and your opponent does response A, the next time you do threat A, so you can be a little bit careful or more aggressive with it. You can say I did threat A the first time and they did response A. So I'm going to do threat A again and then I'm going to do a counter to response A. That's number 1, you could do that. Or you could say I'm going to do threat A, they do response A, and you say, okay, I'm gonna try threat A one more time and see what they do, and
Hmm.
then maybe they do response A, but see now you get into this kind of territory where you're like they're not really gonna do it a third time, right? So then
Right.
what you do is you maybe go into situation B or C and you go do some other stuff for a bit, and you kind of get them distracted and be like, oh yeah, yeah, forget about all that. That was just neutral. And then you do threat A again. The odds of them doing response A are like 5,000 to 1.
Right.
Like
Right.
they're gonna do it and you're gonna be able to punish them for it. And so this sort of like and I have a couple lessons on my YouTube about information gathering of like trying to like getting better at sort of figuring out what your opponent does in response to your threats and how to categorize that. So you could look those up if you wanted some
Okay.
more info on that. It's with like a Marth, I think, but the lesson is it's still very good for general stuff. But that
Right.
way, I don't need to get super into it right now. But that's the idea: is you want these minimal commitment options, and you are presenting your opponent with situations that look just like your aggressive situations but aren't, and you're
Hmm.
trying to coax out like a win, because like if you look at it, both of these characters are exactly the same character, and so like Fox and Fox are exactly the same. There's no advantage you can push. And when you're against another character, you say, okay, my character kills better off the top. My character is faster on the ground. My character is
Right.
better off the ledge, and you try to use these advantages to like beat up the other character. But in a
Hmm.
Ditto, you don't have these, and so your advantages over the player are entirely through both punish game obviously and neutral and like literally pure neutral in the sense of like these baits and threats and stuff like that. So like
Hmm.
that is, and the thing is that the reason you can beat a lot of these people, I think, is because they're not really obeying this rule either. And so you're
Right.
just winning by being a little quicker and a little more
Doing good stuff.
aware, and like yeah, like you're just a little bit better at a lot of different smaller elements of the game, and you can stack those in your favor without actually having to like win neutral more often than your opponent, because it's like
Hmm.
assuming an even punish game, because both of these characters are the same. The player who wins is the player who wins more often in neutral, and
Right.
if you're just playing RPS, you're going to win 50% of the time in neutral. And so your goal is to stack the odds more and more in your favor of being able to threaten your opponent and see what they do and keep yourself safe from their threats effectively. Like your opponent, as so basically if you do this, you'll just beat everybody up to a certain level for free.
Hmm.
And then once you get up to the level where other people are also doing it, then it becomes more about who can bait more effectively, but also who is more aware of the opponent's baits. Like there's a lot of times where people will do, say you do threat A, and then I do response A, and then you do threat A again. I might do a thing that looks exactly like response A but isn't, and then I'm kind of, flipping the situation back on you of like it looks like I'm dashing away for the second time, but when you now come in to try to punish my dash away with an overshoot, I'm
You're
going
like
to hit
that's way
you first, you know? And so and that's sort of where the mental aspect of the game comes in.
better. Hmm.
But you're not going to be able to get good at that part of the game until you sort of bring like law and order to the Ditto of like it can't just be this wild west of people throwing out moves on each other. You have to set up a situation, or sorry, you have to set up a sort of general feeling of the match that like your opponent cannot just throw moves out for free, and if they do they will die, and you're
Hmm.
going to play super safe with full hops and dash dances, and they're welcome to try to hit you, but they're going to lose. That is what you need to establish before you go further into like the mental aspect of like these mix-ups and stuff like that.
Right.
So let me that's a good example of this. I have a couple good sets of this, but they're not. I have a set or two that perfectly demonstrates this concept, but they weren't recorded, I think, or there's
Mm.
some slippies of them. But I remember when I played Sunsei for the first time, or not the first time, but it was a while ago. It was maybe like a year and a half ago or something now,
Hmm.
and he played this matchup very aggressively, and I beat him really badly at a local because I he wanted this kind of thing where he's throwing out moves really fast and I'm throwing out moves really fast, and maybe the guy who's just like, that's what they always say, as they say, like whoever plays better that day like wins.
Right.
That's what happens when you have no other advantages over the person, and that's not
Hmm.
what you want. You don't want whoever's playing better that day wins. What you want is consistency. And
Yeah.
so, because I can keep myself safe in the ditto, him throwing out these moves, it just purely worked out badly for him, and I didn't even have to like read his options necessarily. It was just a lot of empty threats and a lot of baiting, and he just kept falling into stuff. And we had a long talk about it afterward, and I think he improved from it a lot. But the idea is this matchup is very fundamentally defensive, and yes, approaching and stuff like that is good, but you want it to be as like layered as possible. Like in some theoretical world, like let's say we were playing Melee and it's some sort of task thing where like you have a long time to come up with your decisions. You're playing Melee by mail or something, and they mail you their move each frame, and it takes 2 weeks between each frame. Something ridiculous like that. You would ideally want to like literally like write a book on why your nair will hit.
Right.
That would be like the most ideal situation, is if you had like 1,000 pieces of information about your opponent that all tied together, and like you want to like argue for why this is a good nair or why this is a good drill, of like, I have these reasons, I'm using this past information, we're on this position on the stage, his recent actions are like this, I've been threatening these and he's been reacting this way, and you get this big long list of reasons why it's a good choice. Mm-hmm. The more meaning like that you can pack into your decisions, the more accurate they will be, because it's the more educated your guess is, basically. And so what you don't want is sort of just these like okay, this was really good actually. This was what you want to be doing a lot more of right here, because you're doing this, you have a couple chances even to punish him here, and you didn't take them, but like the idea was like you could have just done this and punished him, and you didn't actually like risk yourself doing this at all. You're doing so look at this. Oh, this is actually really
That's
perfect.
just one of those ran past each other scenarios.
But like, so look at this, is you do this dash, and then I would say this is a little bit too far away because he's like shielding here, but this is fine. So look, you do this dash where it's this one. You do a short dash back, and you do a longer dash forward. So from his end, this really looks like an approach. Mm-hmm. This is very unreactable to approach to once you're at this distance, and so what you showed your opponent here was a bunch of short dash dances, and you were maintaining this space. This is what I tell people: always look at the center line of the dash dance, and when you change the center line of the dash dance, that is a piece of information you're telling your opponent.
Right.
So you're doing this, and you're dash dancing, and it's kind of like right here, and you're moving forward inch by inch, but then when you do this dash takes a lot more space than any of your previous dashes. This one right here. And so he reacted to this with a down air, and this is where you want to be aware that like this dash was further in than the others, so he might
expect an opportunity.
Yeah, he might bite there, and so now you have a chance to go for the opening here.
Yeah, because the thing is, I probably tried to react. I just did that, and then I reacted to his drill and tried to nair it. Mm-hmm. When it was like already 10 years later.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a really good example of what I was talking about. Let me see if I can find another one. Okay. Yeah, so let's say you're doing something like this. So, okay, let's ignore the up smashes. Right here. So you do dash, 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 run in, full hob nair. This is not a nair you could like write a book about, you couldn't write a paragraph about this nair. I don't even think you could write a full sentence, like a big long sentence about this nair. You would say
I was in the corner and he was in the middle.
You would say I was in the corner, he was in the middle, I dash danced for a second, I'm throwing out this nair to center, maybe he'll get hit by it. That is the full amount of reasoning that went into that nair. And therefore it is a lower quality nair than a nair that had more reasons behind it. Wait,
that's what dash dancing more.
So yeah, and that's why dash dancing more is good, because you give yourself time to gather more reasons. Because you're doing this. Okay, so he full hops here. Is he showing it? Like, if I was here, I would be looking very carefully. Is he showing aggressive intent? Can I get out of the corner? So if he did this full hop right here, what I would have done, it's like this. He does this full hop. I would have instantly dashed to this position. Because this full hop, it completely eliminated his aggressive potential for like a short period of time, and it allows me to gain some space. So I would have moved to here, and then while you're doing this, I would have done this same dash dance, and I would have looked for aggressive intent. You know, maybe he's gonna dash in. If he dashes in on me, maybe I call him out. You know, you can call people's bluffs. Maybe I still keep like he dashes in a little bit, but I keep dash dancing. I go, oh, are you really gonna come in right away, like on the first beat? Like, that would be stupid, because I would clearly just whiff punish you. And he goes, no, you're right, I'm not really coming in on the first beat. Then I take a little bit more space. Then he goes, maybe I'm coming in now. And I go, maybe you are. And I'll back off a little bit and see what he does, you know? And a lot of that, so, like, basically that just gives you so many more chances to outplay your opponent than you would by doing this nair without a lot of thought behind it.
Right.
So, like, you're doing this, you want to be watching your opponent while you're doing this, and so you didn't actually even wait to see what he was going to do. Like, if you look at the reaction point where you do this right here, you didn't even see this. He was still right here when you decided to do this.
This dashing is part of the full hop nair. Like, I'm dashing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're already committed to the full hop nair right here. It's like right here, 1, 2, 3, right here. You have already decided here, I'm about to just chuck this nair out, and you don't have any information that tells you that this nair will hit. So you want, in this position, you want to gain some space, look to see what his intentions are. Are they aggressive? Are they not? Continue to play neutral here, and look for ways that, like, you can actually create meaningful choices. The more meaningful your choices are, the more information that goes into them, the stronger they are, just inherently, even if your reasoning isn't perfect. Like, because you can't do it all based off of objective information, and so naturally there's going to be some heuristics, there's going to be some guessing. Oh, I think my opponent's a little scared. Oh, I think my opponent really likes to fight for center immediately, so there's a higher chance of them coming out. And the thing is, you're not always going to be right. You know, inherently it still is a form of, like, rock, paper, scissors, but it's like ultra-educated rock, paper, scissors, where every fifth move your opponent plays paper, like, are they going to do it this time? There's no guarantee, but you can kind of think that they probably will. So, yeah, so this nair doesn't have a lot of meaning behind it, and that's why it's not as good. That was just a whiff punish. So, okay, then let's look at the next neutral interaction here. Same thing. Okay. And then
last time
that wave dash jab was pretty bad. Didn't have anything behind it. Okay, so you're invincible here, so this is fine. Okay, you're still walling. That's fine. Let's wait for like a real dash dance neutral situation. Okay, so right here, and you just go in for the nair. And the thing is, by itself, this is not a bad option, because it's not. So the other thing is, if you spend every single interaction doing this long, patient dash dance, it's too passive. And your opponent will get a handle on the fact that you're playing way too passive. So the idea is, like, it's not that you never want to do these. I would even say in this position, it was probably a good idea. But the idea is that it should still have information behind it that you gathered from the slower, longer neutral interactions.
Right, like the only information I actually had is, I think he just up smashed. So I was like, he's probably going to dash back just because he knows he did a laggy move and he wants to get out of that spot.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And if you have the idea that these nairs, there's certain Fox players where these nairs in the corner just hit them every time. And so if your opponent is someone who gets hit by a move a lot in a certain position, there's no reason not to do it there, really. So the idea is, like, this is a good mix-up. It's just not a mix-up that you're going to get a lot of info from. So you have certain neutral interactions where you're gaining a lot more information based on the threats. And then there's certain other ones where you might just go in instantly because you feel like you have enough information to make this worth it. So that's just like an important distinction of like you don't want to play so patient and passive that it becomes predictable, but you also don't want to just dash dance full hop nair for literally no reason and then wonder why you lost the game when there's literally no reason for doing that. I can't believe your opponent let you hit him with it.
Yeah, I probably did that one because he was shielding. I just figured I'd hit his shield with it.
Yeah, but it's not
Because
good.
most people at this level just get shined.
Yeah, like people just get hit by
Never
stuff,
shield.
but I still don't think it's a very good idea. Or
Yeah, I'm
there's
not saying that's the right thing. I'm just saying like
yeah.
with the people I'm playing and how I'm playing it, I'm like, oh, I'll just nair his shield because
And
he'll
yeah,
probably let
that
me
was
shine.
another point I was saying was like I think that the fact that the people you're playing like let you hit them with everything is bad for your development. So I
Right.
think really try to focus on playing this way I'm describing and sort of you might have to sort of give up on certain easy openings. Not in tournament, but maybe in
Hmm.
friendlies. Like don't don't do the thing that you know always works against them
Right.
because it's not going to teach you anything. Like when you're playing, if you're in tournament, yeah, use everything. But in
Uh,
friendlies, try to stick to the plan and like learn as much as you can without
right.
without just doing like, well, this always works against people, so I'm going to do it because that's how you stay as like a local champ for like years.
Hmm.
And yeah, so this downer doesn't mean anything, and part of why this downer doesn't mean anything is if it hits, it doesn't get you anything. And this is part of that thing where you want to be looking for big openings. This downer will never get you a big opening, so there's not really a good reason to do it.
I think I assumed he was going to land on the side platform when he just full hopped.
Yeah, but that it's
Like he
the
just does like a
drill is not
random full hop
guaranteed to hit
backflip.
there in
That
any
one.
way, and like he didn't full hop here, and if he doesn't full hop here, you're just super risking. He could have just up aired you, and you might have literally lost your stock here. I mean, he nared you anyway, like so. It's just something to keep in mind. I think the two elements or we're almost done with the lesson. I think and we didn't get to the peach VOD, but I there was a lot to cover here, I think.
Hmm.
So the
And I
main
definitely think this is probably my worst matchup, so I'm fine with
mm,
that.
okay, good. So cuz I feel like there was definitely a lot of stuff in this matchup that was
Hmm.
like pretty necessary
And
to
just a
go
lot of
over.
general stuff, so like it
Mhm.
helps with everything else anyway.
So there's the neutral game, which is your goal. Okay, so first of all, actually, let's do the punish game. You want to get a better punish game so that you know which options are the big punishes. Because
Hmm.
also, like, think about it when you're playing like a Sheik and like they just keep reaction tech chasing you over and over again.
Right.
And then you're really close to a Sheik and they dash in. The threat of that dash in is so much more potent, and the chances of a sheik is right next to you and you're at 5% and the sheik dashes in, you're not going to be like, I'm going to call his bluff.
Right.
He's not really going to dash and grab because it's like, yeah, he is. Like, of course he's going to dash and grab because if he gets it, he just gets to down throw you 50 times. And that's sort of like as you get these combos that are really beefy and like get you a lot of mileage, then you can the threat of doing those becomes a lot more potent, and there it makes it easier to gather information and manipulate your opponent because when you dash at them, their mind lights up with all these scary things that you're going to do if you do manage to hit them.
Hmm.
So the punish game is a big one. I would say, study punish game a little bit. Focus on getting these grabs into big openings. That's just really important. That will help you towards. I think you can do it simultaneously with this other stuff, and it'll sort of help you towards it. The other thing is longer dash dance interactions in neutral need to be mixed in a significant amount more. You don't need
Hmm.
to exclusively do them, but they need to be mixed in, and you need to, before you throw out a move, you need to have more reasoning behind it.
Right.
And I think those are sort of the basic points. What are your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of answers the questions I had. Because yeah, I think a lot of the reason I was like these sets came after when I told you I need to work on the Fox Ditto, and what I was trying to do to solve the problems I was having is like I feel like I'm getting ran over. I'm just gonna run them over instead. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing way more just running at people. Uh,
Not a bad answer up to a certain point. Like it's
right, right.
better than getting completely run over.
Hmm. Yeah, and like I was running away and not getting anything. Like I wasn't thinking of it. I was just running away. I'm like, okay, if I'm running away, I'm not getting hit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that was that issue. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think that's good then. I think you have a solid direction on where to go from here. And it was a little confusing at first, but I think that it's normally good when things are a little confusing because it means that like you're not doing anything jarringly bad, and
Hmm.
that's good. Like because sometimes I'm watching people and I go, oh, like what are you doing here? You know, like and it doesn't really make
Right.
sense. But a lot of your decisions and mix-ups do make sense. They just need to be like loaded with more reasoning behind them, and you can get that reasoning by learning to use dash dance and full hop more safely and like not just to be safe but to threaten and watch your opponent.
Hmm. Yeah, it was a big thing. I was talking to Jello because he'd already had a lesson with you, and then just other people like I don't want to pay for a lesson with a great player just to show up, and they were like, well, what the fuck are you doing this for? What the fuck are you doing this for? Like a bunch of dumb stuff that I probably could have figured out on my own time if I just like watched one of my own VODs once, you know.
Right.
Um, so yeah, it feels good to
On
find
that
deeper
topic though,
things.
remember don't wave dash back in neutral
Right, right.
and don't jab. I in don't jab when your opponent isn't at super high percent.
Hmm.
But
Okay, actually wrote that down.
okay, other than
Sure.
that, I think this was a really good lesson. So I will send you the payment info and
Cool.
hope you have a good one.
All right, you too. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.